Hey everyone, I'm Mike Del Preti. Welcome to Context, where we're having conversations with industry leaders talking about the businesses and technology changing real estate. So my guest today is Orly Ripmaster. Hi, Orly.
Hi, Mike.
So Orly is the president of a local brokerage here on the Front Range in Colorado, Slifer Smith Frampton, which sounds like a law group or a band out of the 70s, but is in fact one of the leading brokerages in the area. So welcome.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, that's right. Slifer Smith Frampton is a very storied legacy brokerage here in the Front Range, but also in the mountains. All three of our founding partners, Rod Slifer, Mark Smith, and Harry Frampton, are all three inductees into the Colorado Business Hall of Fame. So it's got a really, really strong and powerful brand name here in Colorado.
That's great.
Yeah.
So that business, I mean, your family's been in this business for quite a while, but you're relatively new to the space. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Sure. Yeah. In terms of residential real estate, I'm a bit of a rookie. In terms of other real estate asset classes, I've got a good lot of experience there. I grew up in the business, so to speak. My dad has owned a brokerage in Boulder, Colorado since 1977. So he ran and operated the whole thing as a broker owner. Which we could talk about, what a broker owner means and does, for about 45 years on his own.
Wow.
About 2 years ago, I was in a transitioning mode in my private equity career, which was also not residential, but a real estate related field, real estate related private equity. And in that transition, ended up thinking I can apply so much of my learnings from private equity to my family business, and ended up joining my dad and partnering with him. And ultimately, my role was to discover, and endeavor to understand what was the next gen of his broker ownership and his brokerage, and ended up selling to Slifer Smith Frampton.
And when was that?
We closed the deal on August 1st of 2022. So we just celebrated our year anniversary.
So about a year ago.
Yep.
So, I mean, the industry, like you've been kind of on the outside looking in terms of your dad's business and this, but now you've been in kind of the driver's seat and front row seat for a year. Like, what have you learned about the business that you didn't realize from before?
It's a very dynamic business. It's a very dynamic business that is so different than your typical blocking and tackling company. And the reason for that is based on the fact that the majority of the people that you quote unquote oversee are independent contractors. They get to do what they want to do. And that's a freedom that they have. There are some companies that don't allow as much freedom, and there are some companies that allow a lot of freedom. A lot of that has to do with where you sit on the sort of independent corporate franchise scale. We happen to be fiercely independent, and we value our independence, and that allows our brokers to feel that independence as well. And that has its really big pros, because our brokers have freedom to do what they want, freedom to think about their business as executives and CEOs of their own independent companies, so to speak. But it also comes with its complexities. As someone who loves strategy, I love logistics, I love getting sort of down and dirty with analytics. Not all my brokers have to think about the strategy in the way that I look at it, right? So as a leader, that's been one of the biggest challenges for me, kind of retooling my leadership to give suggestions and recommendations versus a concrete vision.
So is that kind of that key learning that you didn't really fully realize before, the level of independence of the agents?
The level of independence that they want and need, and you have to nurture.
Yeah.
And every single one of my agents is different.
Yeah.
So some really want independence. They kind of want to be left alone. They do their own business model, and it works great, but they love having the brand, they love having the support behind them, but they don't really use it all the time. And then there's others within the same organization that need a lot of support.
So how many agents?
So we have 70 agents on the Front Range.
Okay.
So that's sort of my purview. And across our 4 markets, which are the Front Range being my market, we have Summit County, Vale Valley and Roaring Fork Valley, which includes Aspen and Glenwood and that sort of whole valley in the Roaring Fork region. Across all 4 regions, we have about, gosh, what's the count now? About 275.
Okay. So the 70, let's just take those 70 agents. If we're
Okay.
thinking about agent personas, the typical agent, is there 2 personas, 4 personas? Like how many buckets could you segment those agents in if we wanted to just generalize?
Sure. I'm so glad you asked that question because it's something I've been trying to synthesize.
Yeah.
I believe that I've got it down to about 8 archetypes
Okay.
and personas, so to speak. And generally speaking, everyone can fit into 1 or 2. What I found, if you like kind of put it in a circle, some are just adjacent and they pick a persona that I think really works with them. And then they've got an adjacent persona either to the left or the right on the circle. Some go directly across the circle and they do some things in this persona and some things in that persona. But generally speaking, I think it's about 8.
Do you think those 8 could apply to the entire industry, or is that pretty unique to Front Range?
I think it could apply to the entire industry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's really something there.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it from a consultant lens and you had to boil it down, there's a way to boil it down, I think.
So do you think the industry's actually changing?
I do think the industry's changing. When you look back, not that long ago, 10 years maybe, the MLS was private. The MLS was something that was very hard to access, hard to kind of understand. It took that ability to understand how to read the hot sheet, how to read the MLS, how to understand what was for sale and how to go and see it. Now you can see that on your smartphone within a second. That sort of demystifying of the MLS, I think, has opened a lot of opportunities for change. Some very, very fast. Others will be slow and more mature as they evolve. But no matter what, that's a change because the public now has access to the inventory. I think it's great. I really do. It makes the clients come to a brokerage a little more ready. They're prepared. They understand the market a little bit more because they've been able to kind of search through and make their own hypotheses about why something's priced the way it is and what they want to see. And when anyone comes to you more educated, it's a good thing on both sides of the ball. So
what about the brokerage side of the business? Over the past 5 or 10 years, is that changing at all?
it's changing. There's a lot of compression in the brokerage side of it on both commissions from sort of all sides.
What do you mean by that? All sides?
So there's commission compression from what the agents are asking for their commissions.
From
right?
the brokerage.
From the broker.
The split from the broker. Yep.
Yes. Here in Colorado, we'll say broker. Nationally, agent would be your word. So maybe we'll use the word agent. Sort of what they're asking for.
Yeah.
In a way that's a raise, so to speak, if you want to look at it that way. And then also from what's happening in the industry. There are some low-cost leaders out there that are saying, oh, we'll do a 1% commission, a 1.5% commission. And people are taking it.
And are those the discount brokers?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a hard and fast rule. I think they're starting a trend, but others follow. And I think there are some established brokers that will also say, oh yeah, we can do that to win the business. And I could get myself into trouble for saying stuff like that, but it's really important to have that discussion because there is a value stream in there that the brokers truly provide. I think alongside the learning of the 1099 and how independent and sort of that sliding scale of independence for each individual broker, the other big learning that I've seen and been able to see firsthand with some extraordinary brokers, agents, they have a lot of value to give, a lot of value. It might not be in the picture they take. It might not be in the remarks that now you can kind of make cute with ChatGPT or whatever. It's getting a deal to the closing table. You can't discount that. The ability for someone to take a showing and convert that whatever it might be, 10 days, 30 days, 90 days to the closing table, that is not easy.
So that the personal connection an agent makes. So, at the Inman presentation and a week or two ago, I wrote about that. I talked about like the last mile problem, right?
Yes,
Is that what you're talking about?
it's exactly what I'm talking about. And I read what you wrote. I loved what you wrote. I think it's spot on. I think it actually goes deeper than that too.
Hmm.
It's the last mile of the last mile.
Hmm.
There's an even more subtle, deeper meaning to what these executives can do. A great agent can save a deal. A great agent can know when a deal needs to be saved before it even has to be saved. A great agent can tell you what kind of business is happening between a client. Who is this client? What are going to be the things that are going to save this? How to save a deal out of inspection? How to negotiate at the table? Things in the red hot demand of the last 2 years, the sort of unsustainable red hot demand of the last 2 years,
Yeah.
deals were happening. There were no inspections. There were no contingencies. There were a lot of backup offers, 13 backup offers, right? It's a different market now, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Normalized markets are good.
Hmm.
They're healthy. They bring a healthy balance and a renewed balance. So we're okay with the healthy market. But a healthy market also means we're back to inspections. We're back to inspection objections. We're back to loans and loan objections and all sorts of different pieces of this puzzle. And it's now more than ever where a great agent can save a deal. And it's really, really important to know that just getting a showing and then getting something under contract is the first maybe 40% of a deal.
Hmm.
Getting it to the closing table is the big 60.
It's interesting. The stuff you're talking about, the value that agent provides, the negotiation, bringing the deal to a close. I mean, none of that strikes me as something where technology has any impact whatsoever.
Very little. The same as, an email, right? Email matters because you can talk faster and
Mm.
and having it in a system also helps because you can track dates better. But I mean, that's 1990 stuff, right? Getting someone from an inspection objection, say they've got a leaky roof.
Mhm.
You're under contract, you love the house. It's a client that you adore, maybe even a seller that you adore. What do? You've got to get through this inspection objection. The buyer's wanting a new roof, the seller's not wanting to pay for a new roof. That's your job.
Mm.
That's where the money meets the road, or what's the
That's where the
saying?
rubber. That's where
The
the
rubber
rubber
meets
hits
the
the
road.
road.
That's where
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rubber meets the road. For these agents, being able to understand personalities, negotiate. A leaky roof isn't going to get changed by tech. The negotiation isn't going to get changed by tech. That's an excellent agent is going to pull through that.
So is technology having any impact whatsoever? I mean, these companies have raised and spent billions of dollars building out technology platforms. Their R&D expense every year is huge.
Mhm.
But what we're talking about here is it's not technology, it's more of psychology.
It's a lot of psychology. I do think that investment, it's been significant. We see it everywhere. We feel it everywhere also. It's a first mile technology.
Hmm.
And that first mile technology does make a difference. There's some exposure benefits, there's some speed to market benefits, there's look and feel benefits. So yes, there's a benefit in having having some scale and some expediency and in that first mile.
I like that. That's the first mile.
Hmm.
And then we're talking about the last mile. That's
Mhm.
a good corollary. That's
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
So the other day we were talking about recruiting.
Yes.
And you were saying you were spending a lot of time on recruiting, and you actually grew your agent count from what to what over the past year?
About 55 to about 70. So a pretty big percent, a healthy percentage growth.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm thinking about some of the research I've done. A lot of businesses are losing agents.
Mhm.
So on a percentage basis, that puts you in a really great camp and a good company of businesses that are growing.
Thank you.
Going through that process, what have you learned about recruiting?
Gosh, there's so many corollaries to what we're just talking about. It's the last mile.
Hmm.
There are agents out there that really want help with the first mile, and now you can kind of scale that. Some agents don't want to do marketing. I understand that.
Like, what's an example of some of the first mile stuff? Marketing, what else?
Marketing, affiliations, exposure. For example, Slifer Smith Frampton is a proud founding member of Forbes Global Properties.
Hmm.
That's a huge boost to our business to be able to tell our sellers, our agents to be able to represent Forbes, for our sellers to be able to be sort of synonymous with an amazing name in business, probably the number one brand in business.
Hmm.
For a market like Boulder, that is an unstoppable force to be able to be part of Forbes and Boulder, where there's entrepreneur spirit and research and youth and success. All those words are synonymous. So that's a first mile piece, that exposure, that brand name. But the agents that we recruit and the ones that we feel fit really well within our culture are those that are looking to be the best at the last mile. They want to see people around them that are closing deals, creative, finding solutions oriented, troubleshooting. One of the reasons why my dad was so successful in a small broker owner business, he's an extraordinary troubleshooter. He knows the contract like the back of his hand, and he can tell you exactly where something might fall through with the contract and be ahead of that. So the agents that really value what we're doing love the first mile stuff we're doing. It's important. It really is. And that's why so much of that tech that has kind of disrupted, so to speak, the industry has been important and impactful. But it's that last mile where you're getting that tutelage, where you're getting that troubleshooting, where you're learning how to be a business executive, not just someone spinning the hamster wheel.
So in a down market, a receding tide, there's less transactions. What I'm hearing is it's not so much the first mile at the top of the funnel, right? It's not the bigger billboard buying more leads from Zillow or Realtor.com. It's actually it's the last part of it. It's being able to troubleshoot and close the transaction. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, at least in this market, the Front Range and Boulder.
It's a strong belief of mine.
Yeah.
But I also think there's value in the lead buying and the top of the funnel.
Sure.
Because it's where business can come from.
Mm-hmm.
We preach Sphere. We were talking earlier this year with one of our partners one of our Forbes Global Properties partners in New York City, and we dubbed it the Year of the Sphere. And it really is. It's the Year of the Sphere. And one of the things that we train to, which I love, our trainer, Eric Thompson, he's based up in Fort Collins. He's just a world-class trainer, a ninja disciple. He talks about this timing in the market where there is time to sell and there is time to serve. And right now in this market, it's time to serve. And that time will eventually turn back around, it's cyclical, into a time to sell. But serving is serving your sphere. It's giving them the information, being their advisor, their whole life advisor, not just their real estate advisor, telling them that, this is the time or this isn't the time.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to be candid with your sphere and your relationships right now is huge, because that's where you grow your credibility and your authority in the market. You can also buy leads. It's not necessarily that immediate credibility, and it's not necessarily that immediate authority, but you can earn that over time and you can grow that over time. It's just not necessarily our bread and butter. It's not necessarily how we train, but I do think that there is some value there.
And is that a commonality that you're seeing among top producing agents?
Tell me again.
That focus on the sphere and providing service and value?
100%, 1,000%.
What does that look like? Is that just, hey, let's go have a cup of coffee and chat about your life?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's supplying them. So here's where tech can come in, and you can have a marriage of some of the new tech with some of the old school traditional, right? Yes. Calling for a cup of coffee is the best way to gain credibility. Pick up the phone.
Yeah.
That is like, if anyone wants advice in this market, pick up the phone. Period. We can end the podcast. That's it. That is the magic recipe right now. But send the newsletters. Have the newsletters say something, guys. How many newsletters do people get these days?
Yeah.
20 a day from various platforms. So make it have value. Send the market stats, but please, 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 please contextualize the market stats. Aren't we on a podcast called Context?
Yes.
If you're just sending like, here's the average price in Boulder, it's doing your sphere and the broader market a disservice. Because if they don't have context, think about sending something that says, hey, the average price is 1.2 million. Okay, well, you just alienated anyone that's not at 1.2 million.
Right.
Because they just got scared.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, it's a fun number to be able to say that you work in $1 million market. But at the end of the day, you are alienating potentially half of your potential body. So pick up the phone, do the coffee, send the newsletters, make sure it has value, do the pop buys, do the basic blocking and tackling to connect with the people that know you and that you know. Be that reliable friend, be that reliable credibility, know the market, know your numbers. And that's the way to gain business right now.
It sounds like a back to basics approach.
It's fundamentals.
Is that a phrase you're okay with? Back to basics?
Back to basics, fundamentals, absolutely.
Okay.
It's the basic blocking and tackling and being very good at that. That is first mile stuff, right? And then once you get the deal, close the deal, hold it together, know how to hold it together, be trained to hold it together. Don't let someone else write your contracts. Write your contracts. Know what line items matter. Know the contract backwards and forwards. Because if someone else is writing it for you, guess what happens at the closing table if something goes wrong? You got to make a pretty embarrassing call.
Yeah.
Know the contract, write your contracts, know the market, and really do get back to basics.
Out of your 8 personas, how many of them include attributes of getting back to basics and really good at this soft skill psychology stuff?
They all kind of do in their own ways.
Yeah.
My top one, I call it the concierge level.
Yeah.
And I think that's the top. That's the glory, right?
Yeah.
When you've worked enough that your sphere just kind of starts working, and that's because you're working your sphere, right?
Yeah. So back to recruiting for a second. I'm curious what else you've learned about going through the process of recruiting for a year and adding in all these agents. Like recruiting is so important for all brokerages.
Huge. Yeah.
What have you learned out of that process?
Yeah. So it's a great question. It's very, very relevant. I just came from some recruiting meetings this afternoon. You have to know what you want. You have to be able to see the patterning.
As a recruiter,
you have to be discerning. We are not a full body 250 people in one office type of shop. So we want to build a culture where people can work together and collaborate and be proud and have esteem for those colleagues that are in their office. So it's important that we have a discerning look. And I don't know that everyone has that right now. It feels like there's a lot of, hey, your numbers are good. Let's have lunch. Hey, we liked the transaction that you just did. Let's have lunch. That feels cold. It feels growth without strategy. And granted, I'm in a seat where I really would like to stay boutique. And boutique, like the true meaning of boutique and luxury, means something to us. So I'm not looking for 200 agents, so I don't have to pepper the world with, flyers. But I think that the world is being peppered by flyers, so you have to stand out. And the way I stand out, or the way I try to stand out, who knows if it's working, is by having coffee and having lunch and trying to not just send emails that say, hey, great numbers, come join me, because I think that feels cold.
What you're saying sounds just like what we were just talking about in terms
Back
of
to
agents talking to consumers, buyers or sellers. Don't act like a robot. Don't treat them like a number or an email address, but just try to relate to them. Put the extra effort in, contextualize what you're talking about, and try to actually create a real connection with somebody.
That's right. And yes, there is a top of the funnel, obviously, but the middle of the funnel where you're creating that relationship, I may recruit someone for 3 years. I'll be stoked when they come, right? But don't make them feel like they just got the random newsletter. Haven't had value.
Who do you target? You're looking for kind of any warm body or?
No. We target, gosh, it's a little bit the secret sauce, so I'll try to stay pretty high level. We have gosh, I don't really know how to answer this question. I'm going to stall on this
Well,
one.
I'll rephrase it. Um, are you just looking for warm bodies?
No.
Okay. So you have a certain set of criteria that you look for, and I imagine that's a combination of quantitative and qualitative criteria,
Yeah.
and you just look for those things, and you've done it, so long. You kind of have this. I imagine you have a sixth sense in terms of, this feels right.
hmm
Like, do you have an intuitive gut feeling when you're?
I'm starting to. My
Mm,
dad certainly does. He knows when
yeah,
someone walks in if they're going to fit or not,
I
like
bet.
immediately.
I
He's
bet.
he's been doing this forever, right?
Yeah.
Um, Imagine, if you will, an orchestra, right? You can't have too many people playing the trombone. You can't have too many people playing the strings. You can't have all first chairs, and you can't have all fourth chairs.
hmm
You have to have a composition in order to have the harmony that you're looking for. Otherwise, it's cacophony and it's like blah. And that is not something that we are trying to create. We are trying to create an orchestra. We have some first chairs, and they are amazing, and they've earned that. And not all of them are the trombone. We've got some first chairs that play amazing cello and others that play amazing piano. And they're different, and we treat them differently, and they practice differently. But we have some fourth chairs too, and we do that differently. They're developing, and I like that mixture. I like an office space that has a mixture, because if you just have all the top producers in one office, it's
mm
gonna be a dogfight. I
hmm
guarantee it.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the business of building an orchestra. And when I meet someone, I try to figure out what instrument, what chair, where they're going to fit, how it's going to harmonize. And I think that is a really interesting approach. And sometimes someone may come in and I'll be like, I'm not sure where I see you, but I like you. So let's work on this and let's come back to it in a couple of months. I think people are a little bit relieved and refreshed when I say, I don't need you tomorrow.
Mm.
I'm not, we've been in business here in Colorado for 60 years. We'll be in business for another 60. This is our 8th recession. We see it go up and down, backwards, forwards, and sideways, and all things. We've got patience and poise. And I think when some of my recruits hear that, like, hey, let's have lunch, and it's not time for them, I don't put any pressure on them. I'm just like, great, let's talk again in 6 months. Let's just build a relationship. And I think that that's sort of a powerful stance to take, that I'm not desperate.
Right.
I don't need to send desperate emails.
Right.
And I think that tends to work. It's a confidence that tends to work.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps that's the advantage of not being a publicly listed company with quarterly earnings results that you need to release. You have the luxury of time as you go through this.
I have the luxury of building the orchestra,
Yeah.
figuring out the right people, taking chances on some people, spending the time to get to know. And you know what? Yes, not all of them work out and we get upset, and some people leave and we get sad,
Mm.
right? But that's the beauty of what we get to do, because we do get to foster these personal relationships.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, kind of building on that, and this is probably the last question I have for you, but
Okay.
just I don't know, it was like a day or two ago, I put out some other research looking at kind of the different brokerage business models, and on the one side you have these low fee models, right, like EXP, Real, Fathom, and then the other side, these legacy brokerages, the big national brands, Anywhere, Remax, Keller Williams would be in there, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services,
hmm
right? And it's kind of bifurcating. You have the legacy models, trying to provide more and more and more service, white glove, and then the low fee models really reducing their fees as much as they can, still providing service, but maximizing the output or the revenue that the agents get. Is there room in the middle?
Good question. You have to hope so, because we're fairly in the middle. I mean, we're a legacy brokerage, right? We're just on the independent scale. So so there's a linear way of looking at that, and then there's a dynamic four blocker
Hmm.
where it's, you've got your traditional low fee legacy, but then if you kind of put on a vertical axis, you've got private, public,
Mm.
right? So we're in that box, that 4-blocker, where you've got the legacy private and legacy independent. And gosh, something feels really right about that
Yeah.
in this market, because there's a freedom there. We don't have quarterly earnings, but we could, and they'd be pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's it works because we don't have that pressure, and we are able to spend that time on training and development and human interaction. Um, but there's pressure on that model too. There's a lot of pressure on that model. Give us more for less. How do you give more for less? That is my challenge every day.
Yeah.
How do I think about that? And honestly, I think for me personally, my background in private equity brings a lot of that to the table because there are really creative solutions to do more for less. For example, digital. Digital is awesome. Let's move away from print and stay in the digital world. It's cheaper. More people are absorbing it. It's easier to read. It's easier to kind of flip through, and you can change it. QR codes. Talk about something that didn't make it and then had the most positive resurrection of any like technology.
Yeah.
QR codes are amazing. And, that sounds like I'm a 19 or like an early 2000s person trying to hawk some new tech, but honestly, it came back so fast and has so much power. So you've got to believe that there's this space in the middle for brokers that are looking for independence, for esteemed brands like Slifer Smith and Frampton that are well known, well capitalized, have been through this storm and have come out stronger on the other side. And they're looking for that freedom, that esteem. They're looking for the name and the family oriented side of that independence. And so I actually think it's a pretty strong position, but we're not necessarily on the linear line, because that linear line is getting a lot of press.
Mm.
It's has its challenges, and actually playing in this case like above the axes feels pretty good.
What is it about real estate that just makes it impervious to change?
That last mile.
Yeah.
It's just like it's professional services, law, accounting, real estate. It's the biggest investment that you're going to have in your portfolio in most cases. I would say 90% of the cases, it's going to be the biggest investment that you have in your portfolio. And there has to be a human touch to it. It's a professional service that, there's ways to bring efficiencies, scalability, lots of those things. Great. Really good. And that disruption, although it was a little painful, there was some pain in the last couple of years with some of the disruption.
Yeah.
It actually did bring some efficiencies that I think are really important and impactful and helpful and great. But that last mile, you can't automate it.
Yeah.
Period.
It seems like there's a lot of people that don't get that, have not got it, have not really fully understood it, have thought, oh, it's real estate. We can just throw some technology at it, speed the process up, make it more efficient.
It's too emotional.
Yeah, it's very emotional.
It's too emotional of a transaction. Okay, maybe it's not as emotional like when you're picking houses on Zillow and kind of going through, but that's the fun part, right? That's the part we all love. It's the emotional part when something does fall apart. Because it does. Deals fall apart all the time. It's the emotional part when you just bought a new house and guess what? The roof just leaked. Like that's emotion. And you want someone there that's got your best interests in mind, who knows how to handle the situation, who has been there before, who is well trained. And that's the last mile, because yes, the emotion of picking a house, but it's the emotion of making sure that the investment that you just made is picture perfect, or if it's not picture perfect, at least you know where the flaws are. You know the blemishes because your realtor has found them, identified them, and made you feel good about the transaction and the negotiation, and that you either saved some money or made the best deal. And then you can walk away and you can sleep at night. No buyer's remorse, no seller's remorse, just a great transaction. And you need a human being for that. You need that emotional human being to be that to be that person.
It's all the soft skills.
Soft.
It's all the soft skills.
Yep. And it's so important and it's so powerful. And that's what I think, do better than anybody, is train to that and make sure people know how to really hone in on those soft skills. Because anyone can take a good picture.
Right.
But not everyone can make sure that picture becomes a reality.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank
Cool.
you for joining us. That was super informative. Really appreciate the lessons learned and what you've learned from your time in the industry.
Thank you, Mike. That was fun.
Yeah, great having you here. If anyone wants to listen to more podcasts or some of the research, my website is mikedp.com, mikedp.com. And Orly, if somebody wants to look you up or your business, where should they go?
Sure. They can go to slifersmithandframpton.com, SLIFER, for those out there who don't know how to spell Slifer, slifersmithandframpton.com, or they can email me at oripmaster@slifer.net.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Orly.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care.